Hey y'all, Andrew Quinn rewrote the rename file name script that I had done before for Keyboard Maestro in a completely ingenious way, so I want to show off how this works. So this new one, instead of using text lists inside of Keyboard Maestro, it now refers back to the actual file that you'd use to expand the file names. So first off, one of the new features that he added that's really smart is that you can change the language when you're doing the search through Keyboard Maestro. So instead of having to copy and paste from the list of whatever your preferred language is, you can now just type in to adjust it. So by default, if you leave this set variable to empty, that turns it to English. But now you can type in using this code list to something like French by typing FR, or Italian by going IT, or whatever your preferred language from the lists that would already be supplied in the default SoundMiner list. So in the future, when we have more translations, this will be updated. So I know that there's a couple different languages like Russian in the works. So that is one really nice feature. And then now set category, like I said, does not refer back to a list, but actually the text document. So if I go to application support, I can show you where that is. So using Python in a super smart way, it pulls information from this table in SoundMiner from the category list CSV. Oops, I open that with number. Oh, that's fun. Number is fine. So you'll see now it's pulling from this, or if you change it to FR, it's now pulling from here and cat ID. Really great. So every time you reinstall SoundMiner, and if this list doesn't exist already, it'll update to whatever the most recent version of the universal category list is. So that's one way you can keep up to date. And then now the set designer and set show is referring to the facilities lookup Lua. So this is what SoundMiner would use to use the short IDs inside of the file name to expand out to a full name. So when you change this script here, say like I typed in AABR in the file name, when I use the auto expand file name, it'll turn to Aaron Brown in the designer section. And that goes the same for the shows. So if I type in like none in the file name, it'll expand the show field to none, or Lime into Lime Studios. So you can tell I've already manually adjusted this, but basically you'd swap out whatever you'd want to fill into these sections. So AABR, equal sign, and then in quotations marks, whatever the name is. Then you'd separate each of these different chunks within this string with a comma and a space. So the only thing to keep in mind when you're changing these names in your own facility lookup is that the very last one is not separated by a comma. It's just space and then whatever the bracket is. And the same thing applies to the show. No comma, just the bracket. Cool. So if you're having any problems getting that set up in the future, you could probably ask on the Facebook group, and I'm sure someone would be able to help you out with that, myself included. So let's give this a run. So inside of inside of Pro Tools, I'm going to open up the naming dialog, and I'll run the script. I have it set to F18, and I'll search through the category list. Error burst, sure. Error burst. Set the designer to, say, Kai. Set the show to none. And then when we get to the any additional info to add, this is kind of like a notes kind of thing. This doesn't actually assign it anywhere with the auto expand. But if you wanted to put something in the file name like the microphone or whatever you want to use for the last chunk of the file name, you can put in here. But hitting escape or by clicking on cancel, you can just skip this step. So there we go. It built the name, and I'm going to export this to my desktop. Oops. And we will go to SoundMiner, pull that in, right click, process metascript, and expand from file name. And now referencing the same tables that we pulled from before, it now built out all these sections. So happy metadata-ing.